I've been running Talent Ladies Club for 6.5 years. There's two sides to the business. So our target audience is predominantly ABC1 women who they're ambitious, they're successful, and then they become mothers, and then they struggle to resume their career in the way they want. So we have an online magazine where we publish daily content to help them either work flexibly, go freelance, start businesses. And then we have online training to help them actually do these things, so practical help as well. In the digital business world, there are a lot of big talkers. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily have the experience or the gravitas to back up their claims, and are out there just looking to make money at all costs. So although I hadn't worked with you, I had been to one of your mastermind days, but I've been in your group, and you seem to be very different from that. You seem to be what I would call a sort of almost more old-fashioned business person, in the sense that, you know, you ran a proper business and you ran it with ethically, and you know, you weren't advocating how to suddenly make $1 million in 3 months selling any old rubbish. So I felt that you were ethical. I felt that you were probably you appeared to have what I would consider good business skills. Obviously, we're currently in a world where there's a lot of information online and a lot of people sharing this kind of thing and this kind of knowledge. At the free level, it can be very confusing to know who to trust. It can be very confusing to try and piece together snippets of information that people might, like breadcrumbs they might leave, and I follow that breadcrumb to a trail that leads somewhere decent. And then when you come to the paying people to help you, again, it comes back to who do you trust? Again, a lot of people that make bold claims. The claims sometimes seem, they don't seem to be possible. I don't see how that can really work. And I don't know, to invest money in trusting somebody, or invest money in someone's system or following their program, to me involves a lot of trust. And I didn't know who to trust. So I hadn't done that. I had sort of tried it myself. I mean, I come from an advertising background, so I'm a copywriter. I don't come from a sales background, which, I can see now those are skills that I was clearly lacking. So I had to try to find my way myself, and I had some success, but it was more, when I had success, I couldn't explain why, so I might have done a webinar that had some good sales off of it, and then I might have one that had poor sales. And I couldn't have told you why one had been successful and one hadn't. And it felt very much like a stab in the dark. It didn't give me a lot of confidence going forward, because obviously you put a lot of effort in creating digital products to sell. And you want to make sure that effort is rewarded with the sales. Otherwise, it's time that you've wasted. So yeah, I had a go at trying it myself with varying degrees of success. What appealed to me about working with you was learning. So you're someone who I trusted, and the potential of learning a system from someone who I believe was going to teach me one that was in line with my ethics.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it would be a success if we created a product that I was really proud of, that I knew worked, I was confident in delivering, and that I knew could be a product that I would sell into the future, that would have longevity. It would be a success if I was able to learn how to sell that properly, with proper connected up sales strategy and skills. And then I consider it a success, obviously, if financially it made money. Obviously, initially it was a huge leap of faith, twofold. One is obviously I paid you money up front, with no guarantee that the sales would even come in. At that point, I couldn't guarantee that the sales were going to come in to repay that. So there was a financial risk involved. There was also the risk of actually entrusting my brand with you. I have been very careful about how I've built my brand. I've built a lot of trust. I have spoken out against unethical marketing practices, and I personally don't wish to use them. So bringing someone into a business and actually signing a contract with you that was agreeing we were going to do this together, and from the moment you started working on it, you were investing your time in it. So I also had to trust that could I create a product that you could sell? That there was a lot of onus on me as well to create something, to know that I built an audience that trusted me enough to buy, that that my side of it, that I could live up to my side of that deal, because I also didn't want you to spend your time in something that ultimately didn't repay you your investment. So I felt a weight of responsibility, both to you and to my audience as well, to ensure that this was something that was going to be a success and deliver to everyone's expectations. There's also that fear that you're going to do it properly with someone who can sell, that knows the system, and it fails, and then you say, well, ultimately, actually, do I not have something worth buying, or do my audience not want to buy from me? There's always that risk of really testing out your offering and your audience and your brand, and discovering that actually you haven't got something saleable. So that's also a risk. So yeah, I had a lot of trepidation, but I also knew, I do believe in taking risks. I don't think you grow without going out your comfort zone. It was going out my comfort zone, but I felt that when I'd weighed up the positive and negatives, and I weighed it up, but I felt it was a decision and a risk that I was happy to take. Your confidence reassured me. When we'd spoke initially about this, and I asked whether, that you felt that this was going to be a worthwhile experiment, and you told me you wouldn't do it, if you weren't convinced that you would achieve a certain monetary value out of it. The fact that you had that confidence, you obviously, you'd seen you'd seen me in the group, you'd seen my work. The fact that you believed it could work gave me confidence, because I also knew that, you struck me as a very professional person. And I knew that you would not risk your time and your effort in creating something that you didn't think was actually going to work. So that your faith gave me confidence.
Okay.
Having a system to follow. You gave me the email templates. And you wrote the webinar for me. Obviously, there were information I had to give you, but you knowing the structure and creating something to that structure, and then giving me the structure. So I almost didn't, beyond creating the product and beyond giving the information about the product that enabled you to flesh out that sales funnel or journey, I didn't have to think. You gave me the email sequence, and I use it. And I had to say that there was also a lot to trust there. Being a professional copywriter, I was, for the first time ever, using someone else's copy, and trusting that the way that you had written those emails and the particular sequence and the particular structure of them was going to work. That, I looked at them and would have edited them and changed them. But I embraced the process, and I realized that I either did this 100% your way, or I didn't do it. There's no point working with someone and saying, I'm going to do it 60% your way, and then when it doesn't work, wondering why it hasn't worked. And so I thought, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it your way and trust you. So yeah, I found it reassuring that I had that process, and I could kind of park my concerns and think, it's an experiment, and if it doesn't work, then I've learned it doesn't work. If it does work, great, I've learned something there. So yeah, I found it easy having a process to follow, a structure, you giving me all the tools. I just merely needed to implement the tools you gave me. I guess that it worked. That these strange emails I sent out that weren't in my tone of voice and were at a frequency that I wouldn't normally have done. So short, I would have not, the time scale was very different to how I would normally have done it. But people signed up to the webinar, people watched it, people applied for the offer, and people signed up to the program. So so that sort of surprise that, oh gosh, that you kind of, obviously you hope it does work, but it just does. It's like a sort of machine. I think, wow, if you do it right, it works in this way.
Yeah.
The hardest things were well, setting it all up, you know, setting up all of those emails and getting them at the right time and the right date. And obviously, you know, we had some technical issues at some time when I kind of messed things up a little bit because there was just logistically, you know, so much to put in place. But as I said, I knew that if I was going to do this process with you, I had to trust you and I had to do it, which I did, and it worked. So yeah, the hardest thing was sometimes trusting someone who is giving you advice on your business that is something you where you wouldn't normally do it. But that's the whole reason for doing it, isn't it? If I knew what worked, I wouldn't work with you. You know, if I had a foolproof system, why was I working with you in the first place? So, you know, that I found hard. And obviously there was a lot of work in actually creating a product that, you know, the work that we did initially, brainstorming what was I going to sell. And again, trusting you on that, you helped me shape the product that we actually eventually created. And I had to say, out of all the products I have created, this is my favorite. And it really does work, and people really respond to it. It was when we started getting the applications in after the first webinar. So when people were applying, and when I saw the people who were applying, because generally the people who applied had been in my network for a while. So they were names that not all of them, but many of them I was familiar with. And there were people who I knew would not make decisions like that lightly. So these were people that trusted me, and the fact that they had applied to the you know, asked the application call meant that I knew it had worked, that I knew that you had created a sales funnel and a product product outline that were attracting the right people, that was structured and priced at a level that was appropriate. So that's when I knew, when I started getting the applications in. So first of all, there were applications, but it wasn't just the fact there were applications, the type of people applying were the right people. And that was really important to me, that I, you know, and actually I was able to convert, you know, virtually everyone who applied, who was right, you know, and it was right, everyone who applied, who the course was right for and were right for the course, that it was the right time, signed up, which I think is testament to the whole sales process. So for me, the sales process wasn't about trying to get as many people to sign up. It was as much about filtering out the wrong people as it was attracting the right ones. So the fact that the right people applied and then they signed up meant that all the sales message to that point had been correct. I came off the webinar, and you know, I could see, so already there's sort of the email alert on my phone from Calendly saying that I had, you know, there were people applying. So there was that sort of high, because you've done the webinar. That's a culmination of all that build up, all of that work. And that was the litmus test. That was the moment of truth. And if no one had applied at that moment, that would either have been a sinking feeling, but it wasn't. It was, I could see the applications coming in. So it was great. I was like, oh, it's worked. I've done the webinar and people have signed up. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's made a significant difference to my business. I now have a product that I have complete confidence in, that is priced really well, that is packaged really well, that delivers the results that I really want to offer. And it's really at the core, the very heart of my business, you know, helping women who've started businesses that they love, that want to run them on their terms, but are struggling to earn the money they deserve from the effort they put in. Helping those women to unlock that profit really lies at the heart of what I want to do. So it is a product that absolutely embodies all of my experience to date and my passion. I know it works. I can now, going forward, focus on running that program, and I can spend less time creating constant new products and trying to market them, and just sell. And I also know that I have a sales product as well. I have a sales formula, for want of a better word. I don't really like the word formula, but I have a sales formula that I know works for it, that I can now play with and adapt myself. I can take the emails you've written, I can tweak them if I want. If they don't work, I can go back to yours. The webinar, I can, you know, I've got that webinar, I can adjust it with new case studies as people go through the program. That I've got something that I can use in the future to earn money in my business. So it was a I would say, valuable investment in my business. I think that I've invested in something that will benefit my business for years to come.
Sure.
Growth, it's generated almost 20,000. Yeah, I'm really pleased, and I'm very pleased I made it. Yes. No, there's nothing I did differently. You know, there were some gremlins, tech issues that you know obviously weren't part of the plan. But no, I wouldn't change it. I've learned a lot through it, and I always think, you know, in business and in life, it is about learning. It's not always about getting things perfect first time, because actually, in the things that don't work perfectly, that's when you learn more from those things than you do when things go seamlessly. And actually, you know, things went well. We achieved all of our goals. So I wouldn't change anything. I think, you know, if I was going to go back in time, I would make the same decision. I would do all the things that we've done. You need to think of sales very differently to marketing. They are very different beasts, and that is actually, you need to, you know, we understand about investing in some things in our business. We understand about investing in a VA if you're time poor, for admin, a designer if you can't design, a web developer, you know, and even in marketing. But I don't really hear people talking about investing in sales, not that often. And this demonstrated to me that actually, that sales are something you need to invest in. You know, I come from a marketing background, and yet I can see that my sales skills were woefully inadequate, and I've learned a lot from this. So I learned that it's important to invest in sales, and you should see an ROI. And I think actually, of all the things to invest in, sales should be a no-brainer, because you should always make more money from investing in someone good to help you with sales. I think if you have an online business and if you have an audience, but you're not really leveraging that, you're not maximizing the value from that audience. If you create products that aren't selling in the way that you would like them to, if you want to kind of get more professional about selling. You know, if you want to actually not have a go at it and not kind of cross your fingers and hope something works. If you don't have the time to, and who does, to endlessly trawl through the free breadcrumbs that people put online and try and piece things together yourself. And I think if you want to work with someone who who's honest and straightforward, who's easy and pleasant to deal with, and isn't going to promise you a million overnight, but will genuinely help you, will understand your business and help you create something of value that delivers something of value to your customers and to you and to the person who's working with. You know, I think all parties should benefit always. I think that I think that's who I'd recommend.
Okay.
I think if you're going to cut corners, if you're not prepared if you're not prepared to hire an expert and listen to them, it's not going to work unless someone trusts you and follows your system and follows what you do. So if you're not prepared to do the work, if you're just looking for instant success without putting in the actual work, if you're not prepared to offer value, if you just want to make money without genuinely helping people, and if you don't really understand your audience, and if you can't create something that actually is going to make a difference for them, because I think you do need to have a genuinely good product. And I think it would be unethical to attempt this process if you're just trying to make money and not deliver something of value.
Yeah.
So I would say have a conversation with you, because actually that person has to trust you to think they can work with you, you know, to think they can kind of like working with you as well. I would say to join your Facebook group as well. You know, I've been in your group for a long time, and you know, as I said, I've seen how you are how you appear to run your business. And I felt that, there were, we were aligned in how we approached things. There were commonalities there. So I'd say, but I would say, have a conversation with you, have a call, because they can assess whether they think that they could trust you and they could work with you, and also and I think you'd be honest with them. I don't think you've got interest in working with someone that you can't help. You're not going to spend your time with someone who you don't believe is going to do the work, or who can create a product, or you can genuinely make sales, because it has to be a success for you too. So yeah, I would say just have a call with you, and I think they'd be able to assess whether that was going to be right for them, and I think you'd be honest with them if you felt it was. Obviously, it was a huge leap of faith to work with you, and I cannot emphasize enough how carefully I make decisions like that, because I do not trust my brand and my business and my audience with someone that I don't think is, I talked a lot about ethics, but his ethics are in line with mine. I think how you run, we all have our own ethics, and that they're appropriate to us, and that's really important. So to choose to work with you was a massive leap of faith, and I don't, as I say, I have never worked with anyone in sales before, and I'm really pleased I did. I've learned a lot, and my faith was repaid, and I'm really delighted I did it.